My daughter got accepted into a prestigious music school. We were celebrating on the porch when our neighbor walked over and said, "Good for you. Hopefully she's not as tone-deaf as her father." I brushed it off, until someone called the school claiming we'd faked her audition. An investigation was opened. When I finally got a copy of the complaint letter, I froze. It wasn't just detailed, it included conversations we'd only had inside our living room. The only way they could have known was if someone had been listening for months. My name's Mark. I'm a single dad living in Asheville, North Carolina. My daughter Ava is 17. She's the one good thing I've done right. Her mom, my wife Julia, died when Ava was 4. Drunk driver hit her just a few miles from home. That wreck tore our world apart. Ava doesn't remember much about her, but I do. Every day. After that, we moved into a small 2-bedroom house on a quiet street. Not fancy, but it was home. I work as a mechanic. Long hours. Greasy hands. Bills never stop coming. But it was worth it because Ava had a gift, music. I gave her my old keyboard when she was 5. She taught herself songs off YouTube. I'd come home and hear her trying new things, again and again, until she got it right. She never gave up. By 10, she was writing her own songs. I found a teacher for her, an old jazz player who lived across town. I paid him with cash and car repairs. Ava worked harder than anyone I've ever seen. I told her, "If this is what you want, I'll do whatever I can." We didn't have much, but she made it work. Then last fall, she applied to the Eastman School of Music. It's one of the top programs in the country. We recorded her video audition in our living room. She played 2 pieces, one she'd written herself, and a Chopin etude that she must have practiced 1,000 times. She poured everything into that performance. Weeks went by. We didn't talk about it much, just tried to stay busy. Then one day after school, she ran into the house screaming, "Dad! I got in!" She was crying. I froze. I didn't even know what to say. Just held her and said, "You did it, kid! You really did it!" We sat on the porch that night drinking cheap sparkling grape juice. Just the 2 of us. Then Harold came over. He lives next door. Mid-60s. Retired. Always out in his yard trimming bushes that don't need trimming. Always making comments. He once told Ava she should try something more useful than music. She was 12. That night, he stood on the edge of our porch, sipping tea out of some fancy mug. "Good for you," he said. "Hopefully she's not as tone-deaf as her father." Ava squeezed my arm. I just smiled. "Thanks, Harold," I said. "Have a good night." I didn't think much of it. He's a jerk, but not dangerous. Or so I thought. A week later, Ava got an email from the admissions office. They said they were reviewing a complaint. Someone had contacted them and said Ava faked her audition. That the video was staged. That someone else played for her. That we used unfair connections to get her in. Ava just stared at the screen. She didn't even cry. She looked like someone had knocked the air out of her. The school said they were opening an investigation. Her spot was being reconsidered. Her scholarship was on hold. Ava stopped playing. She wouldn't touch the piano. Wouldn't eat. Wouldn't talk much. I tried to comfort her, told her it was just a mistake, but she looked at me like I was lying. I contacted the school. They wouldn't tell me who filed the complaint. Said it was confidential. I asked what the complaint said. They refused. I got pissed. Hired a lawyer. Filed a records request. 3 weeks later, I got the letter. 8 pages. Typed. No name attached. It wasn't just some angry rant. It was organized. Detailed. It quoted specific things we said. Things no one else could have heard. Things like, "We're cutting it close, but we'll be ready in time. She just needs to play like she does at home. No matter what happens, she earned this." Those were things we said inside the house. Just the two of us. Not even near a window. Then it mentioned something else, an argument Ava and I had the night before we left for the campus visit. We fought over what dress she should wear for the in-person interview. I told her she didn't need to dress up. She said I didn't understand how it worked. Voices were raised. That happened in the living room. Curtains closed. I felt sick. I searched the house. Every room. Every vent. I looked in the light fixtures. Behind books. Inside the piano. Nothing. That night, I stepped out onto the back porch and stared at Harold's house. He'd been working on his roof a few months back. I remembered because he was out there for days, always climbing ladders and muttering about sound carrying through thin walls. Then I saw it. Up in the corner of the trellis, near the vines that run along the fence. A black object. Small. Pointed straight at our living room window. I climbed up. Pulled it down. It was a microphone. A high-end directional mic meant for long-range recording. And it wasn't new. It had been there for a while. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table with that mic in front of me, just staring at it. I kept thinking, how long? How much had he heard? And why? The next morning, I drove to the police station. Told the officer on duty everything. I brought the mic, showed them where I found it, explained what was happening with Ava and the school. They took a report. Said it was suspicious, but not clear-cut unless I had video proof of Harold placing it. They told me to get a lawyer and maybe install my own cameras. That was it. Ava was still in bed when I got home. She hadn't touched the piano in over a week. I didn't tell her about the mic. Not yet. Instead, I called up someone I hadn't talked to in years, my cousin Mike, who installs home security systems. He drove up from Greenville the next day. We spent the weekend putting up cameras. 3 outside, 1 in the living room, 1 in the hallway. Mike asked if I wanted to confront Harold. No, I said. Not yet. I wanted proof first. 2 days later I got it. Monday night, around 11 p.m., I was reviewing the footage from the new backyard camera. And there he was, Harold. In the dark. Climbing over the fence. Holding something in his hand. He knelt down by the trellis and reached up, right where the mic had been. Then he froze. Realized it was gone. He looked around like he felt something watching him. Then he stared straight into the camera. I paused the video. My chest was tight. The next morning, I went back to the police with the footage. This time, they took it seriously. They opened a case. Said Harold could be charged with unlawful surveillance, maybe more depending on what he recorded. They sent someone to his house with a warrant that afternoon. He denied everything. Claimed the mic was probably lost by a contractor. Said he was just out checking his plants. But they found more. In his garage, in a locked cabinet, they found tapes. Dozens of them. Labeled by date. Some had our address written on them. They took him in. I finally told Ava everything. She just stared at me. Then she went into the living room and sat at the piano. She didn't say a word. Just started to play. She played the same Chopin piece she'd used for her audition. But it sounded different now. Sharper. Angrier. I called the Eastman school. Told them about the police report, the charges, the surveillance. Sent them the documents. It took days, but finally, the call came. Her spot was safe. Her scholarship, too. They apologized for the stress, said they would be looking into how anonymous complaints were handled in the future. We were finally in the clear. But I wasn't. Because then I found something else. One of the tapes the cops pulled from Harold's house had something strange on it. It was marked 2 months before Ava even applied to Eastman. When I asked the officer if I could hear it, he played a small clip over the phone. It was a recording of me. In the garage. Talking to someone. Only I don't remember ever saying those words. And I sure as hell don't remember ever talking to anyone out there. And the voice that answered me? It wasn't Harold. I sat in my truck outside the station, phone in my hand, that voice still echoing in my ear. The officer played maybe 30 seconds of audio, but it was enough. I was in the garage. You could hear tools clinking, the usual background noise. My voice said something like, "She's got it locked down. All we gotta do is keep things quiet until the results come in." Then another voice replied, low and careful, "Let me know if you need me to send anything else." Send what? I didn't recognize the voice. Not a neighbor. Not anyone from Ava's school. It was calm, like someone used to covering things up. The tone gave me chills. I went back inside the station. "What else is on that tape?" I asked. The officer, a younger guy named Redmond, said he couldn't release everything yet. It was evidence now. But he gave me a look that told me there was more. "When we figure out who the second voice is, you'll be the first to know," he said. That didn't sit right with me. Someone had been in my garage. Either that, or someone faked my voice. Either way, it wasn't just Harold anymore. And something else hit me hard. Someone wanted it to look like I cheated to get Ava in. A day later, I got another call. This time from Ava's old piano teacher, Mr. Lennox. He sounded tense. Said someone had come by his apartment asking questions. A man in a dark blue suit. Said he was doing background verification for a college admissions program. Only Lennox called the school and they had no idea who that was. "Mark, something's off," he told me. The guy knew Ava's audition date. He asked about you too? If you'd ever paid for favors. I told him about the complaint, the mic, the tapes. There was a pause. Then Lennox said something I'll never forget. "You ever think Harold didn't write that complaint? Maybe he was just the delivery boy." That sat with me all night. Because if someone wanted Ava out of that school, and wanted it to look like I had faked her way in, maybe Harold wasn't the one pulling the strings. Maybe he was just dumb enough to plant the mic. But who would go to those lengths? That night, I went through everything I could think of, emails, voicemails, Ava's audition files. Then I remembered something. A man we met during the in-person part of Ava's audition. He was there with his daughter, some violin prodigy. I remembered because he'd been watching Ava play through the small glass window in the door, his arms crossed, his jaw tight. I remember thinking he didn't blink once. His name was Alan Bristow. From what little we'd heard in the waiting room, he had money. A lot of it. Mentioned private tutors in Europe, a prep team, for auditions. I searched his name online. First result. A company in Atlanta that does application consulting for elite schools. His name was on the board. Second result. A forum post from last year where someone accused his firm of falsifying test scores. Now it all made sense. His daughter had auditioned the same day as Ava. I didn't know if she'd gotten in. But if she hadn't, I found a video on social media from just after decisions came out. His daughter, Sophie, was in tears talking about how she'd never wanted to go anywhere else. Her mom commented, "Some people cheat their way in. That's the world we live in." They weren't subtle. I printed out every post, every screenshot, and went back to Officer Redmond. He listened. Took notes. Then said, "We've actually heard the name Bristow before. Someone on the force recognized it. I'll see what we can pull up." That night, someone tried to break into our garage. They didn't get in. The new cameras caught everything. A man in a hoodie, moving fast, avoiding the windows. He picked the side lock and had just started to lift the door when the alarm triggered. He ran. The footage was grainy. But from the way he moved, the shape of him, I swear to God, it looked like the guy who stood outside Ava's audition. It looked like Bristow. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room with a baseball bat across my lap and the security feed open on my phone. Ava was in bed, finally asleep after 2 weeks of living in fear and silence. But I couldn't stop thinking. Who the hell tries to ruin a 17-year-old girl's life like this? The next morning, Officer Redmond called. They ran the footage and enhanced the image. It wasn't perfect, but facial recognition tied it to a man named Greg Hobbs, former private investigator, now a freelance consultant. Worked for firms like Bristow's. The police moved fast after that. Turns out Hobbs had been hired under the table to gather intelligence on other applicants. And he'd done it before, illegally. Wiretaps, false documents, fake emails. Bristow paid him to find or plant anything that could discredit students competing with his daughter. My daughter was just the latest target. And Harold? He was just the weak old man next door. Lonely, bitter, desperate to feel important. They paid him off. Gave him instructions. Bristow knew someone like Harold would never ask questions. But the part that still haunts me, Bristow didn't just want Ava out. He wanted me to take the fall. That fake garage recording? They were trying to make it look like I bribed someone. That I cheated for Ava. It wouldn't just ruin her admission, it'd ruin her name forever. The police had enough to arrest Bristow and Hobbs both. Harold got charged too, but pleaded out fast. Turned over his emails. He broke the second things got real. Claimed he didn't know it would go that far. But what really broke me was Ava. When the news broke, and it did break big, reporters came knocking. Headlines. Online comments. People accusing her anyway, even after the charges. Maybe she didn't know, but someone pulled strings. You don't just get into Eastman without help. She didn't want to go anymore. She sat on her bed and said, "What's the point, Dad? Even if I earned it, no one believes me." That was the moment I cracked. All that rage I'd been holding back, all the fake smiles, the calm talks with cops and lawyers, it all boiled over. I drove to Atlanta. Didn't tell anyone. I just drove. Went to Bristow's office. I knew he was out on bail, so I waited. When he showed up, I walked right in behind him before the receptionist could stop me. Pushed him up against his own glass office wall. Didn't hit him, wanted to but didn't. I looked him in the eyes and said, "You tried to destroy my kid's life. You almost did. So here's how this works now. Every day you live, you'll remember my face. And every job you try to get, every meeting you walk into, I'll be there before you. I'll tell them what you are. I'll show them the proof. I'll follow you till the day you die." He was shaking. I walked out before security could show up. A month later, he lost his job. His company folded. His daughter transferred to a lesser school. None of the top programs would touch her after the news. She didn't cheat. But her father's sins followed her, just like they tried to make Ava's follow us. Ava did go to Eastman in the end. But not right away. She deferred for a year. Took time to heal. To play because she wanted to, not because someone expected her to. As for me, I learned something I didn't want to learn. That the truth doesn't always win right away. That people can and will go to hell and back to take from others what they couldn't earn themselves. But I also learned this: if you try to break my daughter, you better be ready for me. Because I'll burn your whole damn life down before I let you win.